Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minutes!
Hello, and welcome to another week of Bat Minutes Forever, the podcast where we're cursed to pay the great penance of analyzing Batman Forever, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And I am your other host, John Parker, here to deliver thrice weekly torture to your ears like a stupid American kettle. Hate them.
Won't let that kettle go, John. We already ripped into it. We'll come back for round 2.
Anyone who uses one of them should just be shot or arrested at the very least.
And some people who may well use them, we'll have to find out now, is returning guests from previous seasons. We have, Zombina and the Skeletone's guitarist, karaoke DJ extraordinaire, Ash Lerczak.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't have one of those kettles, and I didn't realise until you said it that they were still in use in America.
Yeah, they don't have electric kettles.
Why?
I don't know. Didn't we ask someone, Niall? And their explanation was just because they don't really need to boil water that often.
Well, that was, again, we had Kiri Callaghan that time on when I interrogated her about the time I saw her in a video putting a cup of tea in the microwave. I believe it came out of that. But joining Ash is actually returning guest, the first guest that we ever had on Bat Minutes, as I recall.
Yeah.
And we have, comedian and rapper Rikky Wiley.
Hello.
I'm going to be honest, Ricky, I almost forgot your name for a second. I was like, who is this guy again?
Wait, as we all know from that poster recently, it's Rikky Whitey.
Ooh.
Oh, yes, indeed, because I'm performing on a showcase of up-and-coming black comedians.
That was my favourite detail, was the change of name.
But as far as anyone knows listening to this podcast,
no,
I'm a black guy.
Well, true. Actually, no, because we post your picture, don't we?
Well, do not Photoshop that in poor taste. I've just moved house, and whilst we were in the process of moving, we had a temporary kettle, which was a whistly kettle, and I preferred it. And our existing kettle leaks a bit of water out the bottom, and when you pick it up off the base unit is in like a pool of water. But my partner has opted to bring the broken electric kettle to the new house and set it up because she doesn't like whistly kettles.
Yes, I'm with her. You're wrong. She's right.
At the same time, is that not insanely unsafe, though?
It's not. I forgive her.
Hey, we're living in unsafe times.
No, that is true. But we're here today to talk about minute 64 of Batman Forever. Minute 64 begins with a kettle getting steamy in the kitchen and ends a minute later with Bruce Wayne getting steamy in the office.
So we're in Chase's apartment here.
Yeah.
And it really confused me, the end. I don't... So earlier on, you see Bruce arrive for his first visit to Chase's apartment, and the foyer is like the London Museum.
Yeah.
Natural History Museum. And I just presumed that she was like in work or something like that. But then you deduce here that she's actually in her apartment. But her apartment has a natural history museum foyer, which is extra confusing for Batman fans because in Arkham City, one of the levels is also based on, one of the buildings is also based on the Natural History Museum.
That's amazing, that one.
So... Yes, indeed. So you're extra confused as to what this is supposed to be. But he walks off to the side in that other thing and then appears in Chase's apartment. And here we are now at the start of this minute in Chase's apartment. And once you're inside, it doesn't feel any more like it's somebody's home at all.
Not even slightly.
It's got a very odd decor, which is obviously still very Art Deco. A lot of things there about Batman are very Art Deco, but it's got a touch of Ewok Village and it's got a touch of Rivendell in there as well.
You just described some of my favourite things.
Yeah, it's it's not unappealing, but it's not a convincing abode.
All I can think, right, is because they've called her in from out of town. She's like a specialist on the case. So is she just sort of staying in her rented office? But that's really stretching it.
It could be that, like, earlier in the movie, that was her office, and this now is a separate apartment.
Connected to the office for people who do this?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, because it looks like this could be cause at that point she hadn't moved in properly. There was pictures all over the floors and stuff. So it's hard to tell, like, maybe this is now she's decorated. But it does not feel like a comfortable lived-in space, though. I guess, though, she has only moved to town, technically, but
it does. It has a warmth to it. It's very warmly lit, and I think it's supposed to feel subconsciously like a feminine warm womb for Bruce to feel safe in. Okay. And it's even got the painting of the lady in the background. Has anyone been able to identify the painting of the lady in the background with the gold collar and the discs in front of her?
It's that artist who does all the gold stuff, isn't it?
Is it Zim? What is it? Rep Zim?
Crap at art. Don't know what they're called.
Oh wow! Okay, it's the woman in bed. It's the one that's where the woman's in bed in gold. And he's a famous artist, and
my mum loves it.
I had a little look but couldn't find it because I didn't really know what to search for.
Now, I don't think it's actually by him. I think it's supposed to invoke him, the artist. But yeah,
evoke.
What did I say?
Invoke.
I am having my podcast status revoked for having
You're barred.
Just before I am barred, can I just enjoy saying the word "klimt"?
Well, by all means.
The word we're looking for is "klimt."
That is a fantastic word to say. Everybody join in.
So she goes out to make a cup of coffee, or she goes out because the kettle's boiling, and Batman, like it's the most obvious thing in the world, just goes over to her and starts going through it when she's not in the room.
I thought that, how nosy.
He doesn't even do a kind of like look of shame or anything like that. I've just realised this is a family podcast. Said going through her.
Oh no, don't worry. We've said way worse.
It'll
he
just
sidles over to the desk and rummages through her. What he does. But it's literally just first thing he does, walk straight over there, and I don't even think he's got his Batman World's Best Detective hat on or cowl on when he does that. It's literally just, I'm going to look at this now. I am a rich person and the world belongs to me.
Yeah.
And if I want to walk it, just straight over there and starts having a nose.
Well, I know your answer then, because my question I wrote down was, did he go over there because he saw the magazines with him on? Or is it a coincidence and he's just a nosy git?
I would say it's the latter. I think he just, wherever he is, he's just like, yeah, this is mine, that's mine.
Rich white guy.
Yes, exactly. It's you mentioned the magazines. Did you note it's not People magazine, it's Persons magazine.
Yeah, that's right.
People's?
Persons magazine.
Times.
And Times, yes, indeed.
Am I going mad, or are there some Keatons mixed in?
Looks very
those
Keaton
photos?
in one of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's one there, the one on the extreme left. That looks exactly like the shot of him in Batman Returns when he goes up to the roof and he sees the Ice Princess and he's like, careful, don't fall down, basically. I'm fairly certain it's the same shot. Like, they're just taking it from the last movie.
Well, I think this is the time to do it, though. This is when you want to do it, because you want people to believe it's the same guy.
That's because this is the Burtonverse, isn't it?
Yeah. This is still the continuation. Although because Batman looks quite startled in that picture, I do like to think that it's actually from when Chase Meridian called him up to the bat signal and she took a quick pic as he was coming up. She's like, "Whoop, I'm storing that one for the old bank for later." Because if you look on that desk, amongst all the stack of Batman paraphernalia she has, there's I'm wondering what she has in the drawers. I think if Bruce started looking in there, he's gonna find some of Chase's more private mementos that he probably wouldn't want to get into. Like this, knowing
like
again too, because Joel Schumacher, this could have got into some very fetishistic, weird stuff.
What do you mean? Describe it.
Well, for one thing, like look at the bizarre ornament that's on her desk. Like she's got this really long, very jagged looking kind of phallic thing. And it's
I've
like
gone silly. I'm going to stop.
It's like, well, you don't know what she's using that for. Like, it could be an ornament. It could be something else. I mean,
It could be a ornament.
Yeah. Whoa. I will note other little things, though, amongst the magazines. There's a couple of little nods there I did quite like. Because it has Diagnosis Form 39. And, of course, the first appearance of Batman was in 1939.
1939.
So there you
Very
go.
nice.
Can't help but feel
Yeah,
that's a deliberate reference right there.
Gotta be.
Of course, then you have, Today's Psychologist, with a psychological profile on Batman by 3
Well, I have a question
leading
about that
psychologists.
before you move on.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I love... It's not really a question, it's more a weird observation. I love how this psychology magazine has done a mental breakdown of Batman. Like, I'm not sure that publicly doing this without a person's consent is really the done thing in the profession.
Indeed.
That could cause more harm than good.
It's kind of hard to tell, though, because this version of Batman seems to have stopped and posed for pictures. Like, this could have been the same day Bruce Wayne was taking all those pictures that Edward Nygma had up in his friggin' office. And then he's just like, well, I'll be going now. And then the photographer's like, yeah, I've got another appointment, like 5 minutes time, with a mysterious client. And then Batman just shows up, a minute later, like, okay, time to do some publicity shots.
Well, see, some of them look very suspiciously like stills from a film, perhaps a Batman film. It's like when Captain Kirk crashed the Enterprise and to save Spock, and then when at the end of the voyage home he has his court-martial, and at the court-martial they show footage of it, which is quite clearly footage from the film Star Trek:
From the movie.
Search for Spock. And it's like, who's filmed this? How did this come to be available to Starfleet? If you look on the magazines themselves, it says Barbara's New Love, Where Are They Now? Got nothing. Absolutely nothing for that. I've got nothing for that. You got Barbara Gordon, but
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
The one thing I noticed on the magazine is that on the Times, I noticed when they say, out of Gotham's Dark Knight, the way they've got Batman written at the bottom, it seems to be in the same font as the opening titles from the '89 movie. So I feel like something like that does it because they've deliberately changed the font as it goes down, so it feels like that's a deliberate thing. But weirdly enough, though, at the back there you have the newspaper, and from hoking around online, I've discovered that you can buy that newspaper. You can buy it on a prop auction site.
Oh, yeah.
the actual one used in the film.
Yeah. Amongst many, many other things from Batman Forever, you can buy for like $200 or $400 odd. And as I was saying to John the other day, we can buy the front cover of Gotham Beat. That is available to us, but it's like $500. It's like, I think it might be worth it. You know,
if we make 500 on the Patreon, because the show is called Gotham Beat, then you know.
But I was able to go through though because you can zoom in on this paper on the auction site. So I was able to get a little nosy at the other stories there because, of course, the top one is the whole business of Batman more harm than good and all this business.
Well, that old story that keeps coming up in Batman. Is he exacerbating crime?
Well, that's the thing, though, because as noted throughout the rest of the show, that was an element that was in the original script of like all the press laying into Batman, and then they kind of replaced it in the finished film with the press having a very sort of loving relationship with Batman. I think it's like an 11th hour twist by Joel Schumacher. It's like, you know what? Let's just have people like him this movie because people are always dumping on the guy. Let's just have the world accept Batman already.
Yeah, there's no tension, and there's not that kind of tension in this, is there?
Yeah,
No.
But
there is some sexual tension as Bruce and Chase have their chat, and I don't have enough hands free to be able to open my bottle of Coke, so I'm going to simulate the sizzling tension between them as I open my bottle of Coke. Just give me a minute.
Oh,
Hot.
yeah.
See, if that fizzed over and got all over your hand, it would have been quite appropriate for the relationship between Chase and Bruce, I feel.
I think that comes a bit later as well. We'll check back in on that exact phenomenon a bit later. But Bruce, are we moving away from the magazines? I don't want to drag anyone away from the mags.
I've got some other stuff about this because I've been able to look properly at this newspaper to see what other stories they had. They've got like little story beats, like you can tell this is just done like by some lazy assholes behind the scene. Not assholes, very hardworking people, I'm sure. But that story about like Batman more harm than good. If you read the actual article, it's all about ambulance chasers, like a bunch of lawyers who have descended upon a section of the city because a chemical cloud went over it. And so they're basically talking about like how the entire inhabitants of that city are just bugged by lawyers constantly trying to get them to like, we'll represent you. You can freaking clean the city's clock with this. We can sue them for millions. So nothing to do with Batman there. There's a weird headline where it actually says, "Crime in Gotham City not under control," says the commissioner. And then the sub-headline says, "The commissioner says that crime in Gotham City seems to be on a downward slope." So it's like, which is it, Jim? Like, what is it going up or is it going down? What's happening here? But one of the other headlines then is "Strange Behavior Questioned by Chief," which is presumably about Jim Gordon's first saying that crime was on the up in Gotham, and then apparently it's on the down. But the big thing on it, though, really got me going, because I was like, what? Because the people who listen to this show know, me and John have got a lot of material the past two films out of the mayor of Gotham. And one of the articles in this is detailing the ongoing mayoral race. And it has a lot of weird details, so I'm like, we looked at this minute by minute, and none of this tracks. Because it says, mayor frontrunners get clear field while topics heat up before race. And then it talks about the fact that within Gotham City, it's been the same two guys trading off being mayor for 20 years. They mention some guys called Edwin Jackson and Davis Rainier, who apparently have been just the incumbents constantly. Like, one is in office, the other guy takes over from him, and then it just goes back and forth like that. And it's like, we spent a lot of time talking about Mayor Borg. We got invested in that character. We talked nonstop about friggin' Mayor Roscoe Jenkins last movie, and we celebrated Mayor Burrion Moore when he appeared for 1 minute in this movie. Who the hell is Edwin Jackson and Davis Rainier?
Not my mayor. Who's the mayor in the next one? Or does it even have a plot with him? Because it should. It's not a Batman movie without it.
Well, that's the thing, though. Maybe when we'll get there, we'll spot one. But I'm fairly certain Batman and Robin, the thing that toppled that house of cards is that it does not feature a mayor even once throughout the whole thing.
That's the whole thing holding Batman together. That's what makes it work.
But it's the mayor and the town crier.
Oh.
So I noticed that you posted on the Listener's Cave about they are filming Batman.
Yep.
Now, I've got a couple of things on that, actually, because they were filming it in St. George's Hall, and I occasionally work in St. George's Hall through my other job and things on there. And I went in, and there was some people from Universal Studios trying to get in through the same door as me, but I was like half IDing them, like, I don't know that you're supposed to be here. And he went, "Oh no, we're with the film crew, with Universal Studios," and there was quite clearly like film crew set up, and I went, in a slightly mischievous look on my face, I was like, "Oh, what is it you're filming?" And he went, "Oh, I can't tell you, sorry." And I went, obviously as a joke, I went, "It's Star Wars, isn't it?" And he went, without missing a beat, he just went, "We wouldn't film Star Wars here." You're just showing your lack of imagination. I could think of a million Star Wars things that you could film in the historic St. George's Hall.
Has it got any green walls?
Yes.
Oh, Canto Bight looked like there.
A little bit. It did indeed a little bit. But the I've actually you can when I work in St. George's Hall, I always go for a wander around because it's been used as a film set for a million things. In the Name of the Father and many other courtroom dramas were filmed in the famous ancient coroner's court. It's not ancient, but it's from the 1850s, which is absolutely stunning. It's still got the original inkwells, but you can just wander about it. You can go up to the judge's bit, and you can go in the dock and stand in the dock, and you can walk the route that when you get sent down, you can walk the route where you are literally getting sent down. There's a tiny little wooden staircase from the dock that leads to the cells underneath. And I just go for a wander whenever I'm working there and see what I can find. But as you go down the steps, there's all graffiti going down the steps leading to the cells. And the only one I can remember, but it always puts a smile on my face, is someone's written on the wall, "Time machine, please." I don't know whether that's someone who actually got sent out or whether that's somebody cheeky coming on later. But it made me think, that they should film the new Batman in Liverpool and have all of Liverpool fit into the Batman universe. So you could have Joe Anderson, Mayor Joe Anderson, could be like the city official who's actually a bit of a evil gangster. He could be Two-Face quite easily.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
Plus, he could be played by the actor Joe Anderson, who played Mason Verger in season 3 of Hannibal, and he had half a face too. There you go. It's perfect.
Oh yes, there. Or you've got Steve Rotherham, who is our Metro Mayor, who I totally thought was going to replace Joe Anderson, but it turns out he got elected to be a different type of mayor, and Joe Anderson isn't going anywhere.
Oh yeah, and now we need multiple mayors.
Yeah, and he's kind of like your goody mayor, so I don't know whether, because everyone's still quite fond of him, he's done a lot for Liverpool, and maybe he would be your one who's actually like mates with Batman, and then turns evil afterwards. And then I only got as far as Ken Dodd would be a good Joker. I didn't get much further than that.
You could have the robbing play the Robin.
The concept of robbing.
Yeah.
The concept of this is
would make a
fascinating,
great
right?
Robin. I can't really elaborate on that because it's
I don't think you
vague.
need to. I think it speaks for itself.
I think it's a daring new direction for the franchise, and I think a welcome one, quite frankly. But yeah, that is true though. Like, yeah, it was just earlier today. If people didn't see it, like a friend of all of ours, actually, Jimmy O'Brien. He's apparently he's part of an extras agency. He was trying to get in on a movie that Warner Brothers are filming there. It's codenamed Vengeance. And it's like, you're not being too subtle about what you're filming right there. And yeah, he was giving me little details. Like, apparently someone he knows is on it's definitely Batman. And he was saying that in St. George's Hall at the minute this month, they're filming a funeral scene and they're filming a Halloween ball. And considering that it's supposed to be based on the long Halloween, I was like, ooh.
Wow.
And then he sent a picture of outside St. George's Hall where it had little ball art set up with GCPD written on them, and I was like, "Oh my god,
that's so cool."
I was given a tip off about the funeral extra work, and I was just too lazy to send in a thing, and then was told later that it was probably Batman. I felt very sad.
I keep getting hounded by this extras agency now that I mentioned to you the other day. They were hounding me again, saying, "Do you want work? Do you want work?" I'm like, "I'm at work. This is the problem."
I think if I was an extra and it was like a funeral scene, I would have to dress up in like a trench coat and hat. And I would make a point of having a name tag emblazoned with Alexander Knox, so I could be the next cinematic Knox, and I'd be in the background like, there I am, I'm there, Knox lives, and then I'll freaking send it to Robert Wool, and we'll become best friends because for some reason he stopped talking to us when we tried to get him on the show.
Oh yeah, to compound how much of a dick Bruce is. Not only does he immediately go over and start rummaging through her stuff, she comes in and starts continuing the conversation that, as far as she's aware, they're still having. And then Bruce turns to her and goes, "Oh, maybe I should leave you two alone." Because he's just like, "Oh, sorry, you've expressed an interest in another man, and yet I'm in your house having coffee. I expect sex from you, and here we are. You've got an interest in someone else. Well, maybe you and him should get together then, shouldn't you?" And he's just like instantly.
You're not allowed interests.
She accepts the shame from that. You can see her put on the back foot, and you just be like, "No, why don't you sod off? You have no say in what I have an interest in."
It's even too because she is a psychologist, and she's like, "Well, Batman would be a fascinating person for a psychologist. Of course you'd be reading up on him. Like, if that's your personal interest. If you came in and she had like loads of articles about like, I don't know, like, you know, like a movie star or something like that, she'd just be like, well, I guess you're or if she had loads of like articles about L. Ron Hubbard, you could just be like, well, I guess you're really fascinated by what the hell's going on with that guy because he's messed up.
Exactly. And also there's another weird thing going on here because you look at the table and there's a schizophrenic diagnosis form. Now, to me, that was an assumption and a half to go, oh, well, the guy who's Batman, he's got to be schizophrenic, right? She hasn't analysed this guy. She doesn't know him.
I remember there was a Alan Curtis, is he the documentary maker?
I think so.
Who did The Power of Nightmares, and a few other ones. And in one of his documentaries, I can't remember which one it was, he cited this thing that happened, I think, in the 1970s, where to test the veracity of the psychiatric diagnosis in America, this guy who was a professor in university said to all of his students, we're going to do an experiment. All of you go across to different mental institutions I don't know if it's across America or across the States or something like that, across this area, and go in there and say that you're reporting yourself, you just want to get yourself checked over, you don't exhibit any mental health problems whatsoever, other than saying that you once heard a voice in your head clearly saying the word thud. But apart from that, exhibit no other outward mental health problems whatsoever. And it was just a test to see how far all of it would go. But the vast majority of them ended up getting sectioned, or the equivalent of sectioned in America, and he had to fight to get them all released, because they would just go, well, no, these people are clearly insane, they were getting locked up. And it was it then went on to when it all came out, that's when people started to move away from, started to not trust their doctors in the way that they previously had, and it was part of a movement that he was talking about in the documentary. But I can believe that somebody who didn't know Batman could rush to give him a diagnosis, because there is an established premise for that in America. The precedent,
especially in America, where, of course, it's business. They make money out of these diagnoses. Yeah,
but it's not business for Chase.
No,
it's pleasure as well.
Well, I do like the. I like how Nicole Kidman plays it, but although I guess it's bad for the character, because she's kind of taking his dig at her, on the chin, and she gets very defensive, because she's like, "Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah. I find them fascinating," and then she does this arched eyebrow and a very sort of defiant stance of like clinically, like really defensively, like it's all I'm just interested in as a patient and whatnot.
Yeah, she doesn't mention how damn horny she's been all movie for Batman.
See, it's the I think all the films that we grew up with had this to a certain extent, either consciously or unconsciously. But Batman really has a problem with all of its female characters.
Yeah.
Chase has no internal life, even though I think that she does look perfect in this film, and I think the character, in quotes, is delivered perfectly in this kind of noir femme fatale type way. But all of the Batman characters are just there to have emotions about Batman, or to put Batman in peril by making Batman feel things.
How dare they?
Exactly. Poison Ivy's thing, one of her powers is literally, I will make you feel something. And that's how I win. Ash is nodding. I wonder whether this is something that you said to me about 20 years ago, and I'm just repeating it back.
I don't think so.
And then Catwoman as well just flirts with Batman, and that's her thing, is that she's just like, well, you're a sexy sex, and I like sexy sex too, boobs. And Chase is pretty much doing the exact same thing. Right from the get-go, she's just like, hubba.
Oh,
and
minute one, yeah.
What else is there to it? And I think that it's like you can see it across everything in the entire world and all aspects of the media, but Batman has a real problem with it. And even when they try and struggle out of it with who was Catwoman in Dark Knight Rises?
Anne
Hathaway, which was another brilliant performance, and it definitely nudged the character in some really interesting directions. And she did have other things going on besides giving sexy eyes to Batman. She still is like duplicitous, and she still like manipulates people, and is just like, a very, you can't trust women. And you just can't escape. It's the curse of Batman to have.
I just wonder how you feel, Ricky, because we've been actively saying the entire season that Chase Meridian would be better as a villain. So that's kind of almost exacerbating the problem you're talking about there. Like, because it feels, because she's so obsessed with Batman, we're saying basically like, this is before the heyday of Harley Quinn, but you could almost imagine the character being like, well, they just made her into like the Harley Quinn equivalent for Batman, where she was just dementedly obsessed with him and stuff.
Wow.
When I rewatched this, I hadn't seen it in a very, very long time, and pretty much the entire film until maybe like the last 2 scenes or something like that seemed like it was building up to her being a villain. And I was just like, oh, I don't remember that, but it seems like she just behaved, did something kind of like they wanted to do that at one point and then changed their minds, or they just didn't know what to do with it at all.
I wouldn't want to go so far as to say that this film ever had promise, because I don't believe that it did. But I think what I say, they're not with that specifically, but I feel like the start of the film is almost frustrating with having bits in it that you think, oh, that could have actually been something really cool. And then by the time you pretty much get from this scene onwards, it's just like eye-rollingly atrocious. I'm so sorry through whatever confluence of circumstances led you guys to have to analyze this minute by minute. I can only presume it's some form of community service or something like that. But it is a dreadful. I hadn't completely forgotten. But like when you said you were doing this one, I remember I had a conversation with one of you about like, which one's Batman and Robin and which one's Batman Forever.
I think that might have been me. Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody's not listened to any of the other episodes in this season, and if anybody's not listened to the first chunk of this podcast, and they've just for some reason dropped in now at this moment, Batman Forever is the one with Val Kilmer in. Batman Forever is also the one with Robin in. Batman Forever is also the one with Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me in.
Oh,
and Batman Forever is also the one with Kiss from a Rose in, which all of those things were a bit of a surprise to me when I watched this again.
Well,
I was
you
like,
say those songs are in the movie.
Oh, well, yeah.
But they're not really in the movie.
Which one's on the credits? Is it
Both of them.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Like they got to the end and were like, oh no, wait, we forgot to put them in, quick. Press play.
Well, now that you've said this, Ricky, like, for both of you, because, usually we'll be at the end of the week, we'll ask the guests about their history with the movie, but like, you guys are, you're a little bit older than me and John. Like, I remember, like, the hype for this movie in 95 was so huge. Like, it was, like, I still have fond nostalgic memories of, like, the summer of 95 because it was Batman Forever fever. Did you guys buy into that in any way? And then, or did you buy in and then saw the movie and were like, oh, God, no? Or was there a falling out period for you? Or what happened exactly to bring you to this, I must say, shocking opinion on the film?
I think 95 was my first year of senior school, and this was when I started to be disappointed with the hype from things generally, because I also remember being really psyched up to see Independence Day and then feeling suddenly very 12 years old when I was like, well, that wasn't actually that good.
Oh my God! See,
yeah.
I was the perfect age. I loved that.
You say there's problems with Independence Day. You say, like, I don't. As far as I'm hearing this,
that's for an entirely different podcast.
I've been on that podcast, and I was talking about how great Independence Day was for like 3 whole minutes.
You've been on the Richard's Puberty podcast.
No.
Although
I would love to be on if you'll have me.
I will give you pube number 64.
Do you have to talk about the Nintendo 64?
I wanted
64,
that one. I wanted to trade number 13 for it.
Oh, God. Stop. Oh, God, that might actually be... Oh, sorry, Ash. I have a thing of not paying attention to the thrust that anybody else is going for. Ash, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences with Forever?
Okay, I can remember becoming very, very, very excited when they announced that Jim Carrey was going to be playing the Riddler. Because obviously Jim Carrey was very important at the time, just off the back of Ace Ventura, and was, I'm guessing The Mask was before this? It was definitely before this, wasn't it? Because I still thought he was like a guy who could do things. And I was still young enough to not find him really, really irritating. But I think even in them days, with it being a Batman film, and I really loved the last 2, and there was a big build up, and then I think even at that age, it was annoying to watch, and really, I started to turn on Jim Carrey a little bit or a lot.
I think you guys, because we've had people on who are like, way too young when it came out, so they didn't really register it at all. We've had people who were like full-grown adults at the time who were like, whatever. We've had people on who are the same age as me and John who were like, oh, I remember all the hype for this. You guys are a new demographic of people who were just slightly too old for it.
I still think I convinced myself that I did like it, but just maybe not as much as the first two. But
hey, we've all done that before.
I think it was like
Phantom Menace,
acrobatics.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, this is better than Phantom Menace.
You mentioned Phantom Menace. This scene actually reminded me a bit. The bit that they go into at the end of this, where what is the wretched dialogue, where it suddenly goes really soap opera-y, and it's Val Kilmer saying, what's he say?
We're all two people. We're one half the light and one half the dark, and all this business.
This scene is, for Batman Forever, what the Leia Luke treetop scene was in Return of the Jedi. That really awkward, stilted, where even when you were 5 years old watching it, there was something inside. This is just let's get back to the bit where something is happening, please. And it just goes into dreadful soap opera dialogue. Yeah,
I don't know. Why does it go so bad all of a sudden, though? Because she's like, if he can feel your presence, then leave this place.
Yes,
I was imagining that, like Bruce coming in, just been like, what's happening? She's like, I can't tell you. Oh, can you tell Batman? Is that who you can tell?
Hold me.
Thrill me.
Works perfectly.
Podcast complete. I'm switching off.
See ya, everybody.
Yeah.
I love Bruce's line as well that's really cheesy, where he goes, what crime could he have committed to deserve a life of nightly torture?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Bruce is so moved by this line.
It's one of the things that's set up early on that could have been in a film that was very different to this. Could have been explored in an interesting way. About this tries to do the Bruce blames himself for his parents' death, and then his arc is at the end he stops blaming himself for his parents' death, but he still decides to be Batman, and that is interesting. But it is not interesting in this film.
There's the kernel of something fantastic, I think.
Yes. Yeah, there's a few. There's lots. There's not lots. There's several bits like that. And even just like cinematically, there's some really interesting shots and designs and things where you're like, no. Yeah. That springs to mind the Batwing being held suspended upside down.
I like that though. I think that's...
No, I like it. No, that's what I'm saying. I think that's a really good design choice. I think it's really, really interesting. But it's surrounded by dreadfulness. And so at some point for somebody to have done that, somebody must have had a genuine creative thought and saw it through to fruition. And isn't that what filmmaking is? But not like this.
The Goldsman draft has a little bit more dialogue between the two that's not in here. I don't know whether you're going to like it or not, but Chase responds to Bruce by going, "What do you want me to say? That I'm not attracted to him?" Then she hits a button and a screen comes down with some footage of Batman fighting Catwoman from the last film. And it says, Chase mesmerized. She's like, "Look at the abuse he's taking. He's not just fighting criminals, he's punishing himself."
This is, if she's got a screen rigged up that automatically plays Batman footage by this desk, she's definitely got that desk is brimming with vibrators and lube, everything, all kind of dirty crap.
You just see the desk moving in the background, just slowly moving sideways.
And then the line, of course, "Look at the abuse he's taking." It's like, oh.
And then it cuts to the Enterprise being destroyed from the previous film. And they're just like, what?
Yes.
How did you film this, Chase?
I mean, I guess we're at the end of this minute. Does anyone have any notes for this minute in particular?
No, the only other note, and we can't put this in, is, and you can just see it there, Ash, keyboard nipple. You can just see in the corner of the laptop. I didn't know laptops had little keyboard nipples in 1995. And is this the Batman film that has the bat nipples in?
Oh yeah,
this is the one with the bat nipples in.
It is a Schumacher staple. the the nipples.
Yes, yeah, figuratively. So now we can say that there is an odd number of nipples. However many nipples are in this film, we know there is an odd number because there's an extra one on this keyboard.
Unless a character has a third nipple that we don't know about.
Well, it could be. You never know.
Like Scaramanga?
Or Chandler Bing, as I recall.
That would have been a good casting for the Riddler.
Well, Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
That actually wouldn't be that bad, yeah.
No, actually, I actually totally get that. Yeah, I would accept him as the Riddler.
Yeah, I've got nothing else, though.
No? Only other additional notes I have, though, just very, very briefly, is that I noted that the newspaper is actually called the Daily Gotham, so it's not the Gotham Globe, which was where Knox and Vicky used to work. When I was just like, oh my god, is the Globe finally done? But is it gone under the stewardship of Knox? Maybe he became editor and just crashed the whole thing within a year or something. But weirdly enough, for that prop newspaper, on the back there's loads of ads. And one of the ads is for the Gotham Globe, so I guess it survived somewhat. There's also an advert for a doctor who specializes in bad breath, a Dr. Malcolm Kemp. So I'm assuming he's the one who failed his Spandau Ballet audition. So that was the only thing I could come up with. But one thing we do this season that is unique to this season is that we pose a riddle to the guests on Monday. To see and if you guys, and I think you guys would do pretty well with riddles actually. But
can I ruin this riddle by asking that you deliver it as Chandler Bing?
Yes.
Could I be any more of a riddle? Okay, so riddle me this. I was born big, but as the day passes and I get older, I become small. What am I?
Tom Hanks. He started out in big, but he's getting smaller and smaller by the day now, isn't he? No, leave it with me. I'll get back to you on that one.
No. Unless Ash, do you want to have a crack at the riddle? Was it
Started out big.
I was born big, but as the day passes and I get older, I become small. What am I?
Something about a day pass. You're as big. You were born as big as a day pass, and then what happened? You got small.
Yeah.
Time.
I always thought that'd be a good rapper / superhero name. Day Rider.
Yeah.
It's good. It's kind of cool, but then it's also got that urban touch to it. It's like, I will get the bus to crime. I'll walk the rest of the way if need be.
Or surely it could be like an enemy of Ghost Rider.
Yes, yeah. It's got all that on it.
Or Knight Rider, actually, technically. It would be...
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a bicycle that goes up against Kit or something. I don't know.
Michael Day.
But of course, it's all Arriva click buses now, isn't it?
I still don't understand how they work.
I've got Arriva Click a few times, only because I was given free credits, because they do that thing of like, oh, if you recommend this to your friends, then you'll get £15. I have to say that I found them quite...
Do they do that, Niall? Do they really?
They do. This episode's Batman is sponsored by Arriva Click, of course. But yeah,
let me tell you about Arriva Click.
Because I asked Ash if Ash would download the app so that we could both get the credit from it. And you would not believe the suspicion from Ash that he thought I was trying to sign him up to some kind of Ponzi scheme or something. The only thing I can compare it to is when Jin meets Saw Gerrera in Rogue One. Ash was full on Saw Gerrera. You came here to kill me?
Best line ever.
And it's still like, we're laughing about it now. It still occasionally comes up in conversation about, remember that time he tried to get me to sign up to that thing? It's like, just download the app.
I don't know, it just felt like you were trying to sell me like boxes of acacia berries or something.
I just WhatsApped him a referral link and it's shattered our friendship.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, now that this friendship has been shattered once again, I think it's time to move on, don't you?
Yes. We will depart. Would you two like to tell people where they can find you online or plug something, perhaps?
I am, as mentioned earlier, performing on a showcase of up-and-coming black comedians. So anywhere where you can see underground black comedy. That's where you'll find me.
And I'm still a musician sometimes, and you can find me at on the Bandcamp. Look for Double Echo on the Bandcamp, and you'll hear the latest record that came out in December, just before Christmas, and was therefore very difficult to sell to people.
Press the Bandcamp nipple
Got
on your
loads of
computer.
CDs in my house, and you can buy them on Bandcamp. They're super
Oh,
good.
well, do buy them. I mean, every Double Echo album's good.
Yes.
But I think that's possibly the best one. Possibly.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because I do like them all, but there's a couple of tracks on that I had on about 50 times. So I'm sure you got a whole penny out of Spotify for those plays.
Yes, and thank you very much for your contribution towards that penny.
Enjoy. Don't spend it all in one place. And do join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. We'll go through it all at another date. You know by now. And if you don't, then you're an idiot. And I don't really want to know you. No, please do stick around. But we will be back on Wednesday with more Bat Minute Forever.
Next time, rage, violence, passion, and an ill-timed intrusion from a timely piece of fashion. Correspondence with a codger occurs via an irregular cellular device, but while Bruce hides his hand on his half of the conversation, can Alfred's illusions successfully suggest the severity of the situation? Find out Wednesday. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.